You're listening to Denver Wine Radio.
It's a DJ and a winemaker yakking about music and wine.
Presented by Bonaquisti Wine Company.
And now here's Cha and Polly.
Hey, it's a new edition of Denver Wine Radio. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it, Polly. It's been a minute.
We're going to call it Season 2.
Okay, I like that.
Season
2, yeah. Maybe we'll be on like 12 seasons like the Big Bang Theory or something. What do you say?
Whoa, yeah, I think that's great. As long as I don't bump the table over. But, hey, we're inside the winery here at Bonaquisti Wine Company. It's a Friday night. We're getting ready for Fridays Uncorked. And our special guest is Christopher Romero.
Right on.
Yeah,
how are you guys?
Hey, Chris.
The man, the myth, the rock legend.
That's right. The movie star now.
I'll take it. Maybe someday.
Yeah. Hey, welcome, man.
I'm working towards that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You got a lot going on. You always do.
I always
anyway.
do. Yeah. I was talking off the air with Cha-Cha here. And, I got my hands in a few different things. Obviously, the music, the film, my artwork. That's my artwork sitting here, right here. We're about to hang that up on the walls here at
it looks kick-ass.
Bonaquisti. Doing touring quite a bit for the past year. Everywhere from, I played Nashville for the first time, which was like a big goal of mine. I told you that like a year ago.
Yeah.
It was a big thing that I wanted to do to get into that music scene, and it was successful, and I've been invited back. So I'm looking forward to doing that. So I've been playing in San Antonio, Austin, Texas, Dallas. Just got back from Tulsa. Pennsylvania, played in Philadelphia, Los Angeles. I've been there a few times this year. Salt Lake City. I'm just trying to get my record and my music out everywhere. And most of the shows that I've been doing as of late have been as a solo acoustic artist. But when I get the opportunity to play with bigger bands, I'll hire a group of musicians who will go and learn the record. They'll back me up. And we do a lot of big rock shows. So I did some stuff with Daughtry, did a couple dates with him, Paramount in Denver, Pikes Peak Center in Colorado Springs. We've done 3 shows with Tesla with my full band, which is really cool. We just did that in April at the Paramount Theater. And I'm just everywhere, playing in Loveland, Cheyenne, Colorado Springs, Denver, Brighton, wherever. I'll play wherever.
And that's what we love about you, man.
So that's the music side of things. And in between that stuff, I had the opportunity to work on a film last spring, and that is coming out here in June. So June 7th is the premiere, the red carpet premiere, and that's going to be in Rhode Island. They shot the movie there. The name of the film is called Vault. I have a very, 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 very small role with a bunch of really big actors.
So who's in it and what's it about?
So the story of Vault, it's a true story. In 1975, some low-level thieves ripped off the mafia in Rhode Island and Boston.
Romero.
And so definitely. And go Google the story if you can.
Okay.
And so these thieves that ripped off the mafia stole over $30 million, and the money has never been recovered to this day.
Really?
So the writer and the director of this, Tom DiNucci, a great filmmaker out there, took the story, and he got a cast together, and it is amazing. So Theo Rossi has the lead role. Theo was in Sons of Anarchy.
Okay.
He was in Luke Cage on Netflix for Marvel. The film stars Don Johnson.
Wow.
Chaz Palminteri, William Forsythe, Vinny Pastore from what was the show on HBO?
The Sopranos. Big pussy.
Yeah.
Yep. Samira Wiley from Orange is the New Black.
Okay.
She's the other lead role. Oh gosh, who else was in it? I just remember I recognizing like every actor on set. You'd see that guy. I remember this guy from that movie, whatever. But just a great cast, and it's just a really cool story. So excited about that. So again, the premiere for that is June 7th in Rhode Island. Then it hits theaters June 14th.
Okay.
And then I'm headed out next week back to Rhode Island to shoot another movie. I'm doing I don't know if it's a kids movie or a TV movie of the week or whatever, but it stars Dean Cain. And I play a bad guy, and that's usually
Is that your kind of your kind of role as a bad guy?
I mean, I was telling you earlier, Cha-Cha, it's like Danny Trejo's been doing that for over 30 years, and it seems to work. So I don't mind. I mean, obviously with the tattoos and whatever, it's usually the bad guy number 1 or the biker or prisoner number 1 or whatever, which is cool. But I just love the process of filmmaking. So I'm a writer myself. I just finished up a script that I'm trying to get the movie made myself. So I like all aspects, and I've done film soundtracks. I've done written music for television and film. So I love every aspect of what goes into making a film, not just being in front of the camera. If the opportunity presents itself, I'm going to jump on it.
Right.
But I really love sitting back and just watching how things come together, watching directors, watching producers,
right,
watching the special effects, whatever it is. The whole process of filmmaking to me is just amazing.
And it's awesome that you can take, you're a musician and you play a lot of gigs, and you love to do that. You can take that into the movie,
Definitely.
the movie role as well. I mean, who knows? You could write a winning song for a movie someday.
That would be cool.
That would be awesome.
I mean, a couple of my songs have been in some movies, but I'm waiting for that moment, like you said, where maybe a director or a film company comes to me and says, we need to write something
this song
for this, and this is what the movie's about.
Exactly.
To be able to do that would be challenging, but it would be a great opportunity.
But being an actor gives you an insight, don't
Yeah,
you
for
think?
sure.
Does it give you more of an insight to write a music, like a song for a movie? Would it?
I think so, in a sense, because when you're performing and you're into the song, whether you're doing someone else's song or your own music, it's sort of
you have to make it your own.
Yeah, you want to make it your own and can kind of put your personality into that, and but still draw from what the lyrics are saying.
Exactly.
So yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What was the first film you ever did?
The first real movie was Things to Do in Denver When You Did, which is like that's your favorite movie, right?
Yeah,
it's definitely one of yours. And of course we're biased because it was shot in Denver.
Right.
Again, with that cast that I got to work with it blew my mind. I got the role by accident. I didn't go on, I didn't meet up with the producers to be in the movie. I actually went there to drop off music. I was in a different band at the time, a heavy metal band actually, kind of more on the alternative hard rock side of things. We had written some music and I had dropped off a demo to the producer, and in the press kit was a picture of the band. The next day they called me back and I was like, they left a voicemail, and it was Miramax Pictures. And I got all excited. I said, oh my God, they called me back. They're probably going to use the song,
Yeah.
They said if I'd come in and have a meeting. When I got there, they said to me, we have a role that you think you'd be great for. Would you be interested? And I said, sure. So I didn't think anything about, I was thinking music the whole time.
Yeah.
They just said, would you cut your hair? I had really long hair. I said, for sure. And so I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know what the role. I just said yes immediately. They gave us the production dates. I showed up, went to wardrobe, and they had me and two other guys. We played the Monteras brothers, characters in the movie that we were from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Okay.
And we were hired to, here's a spoiler. I'm sure you've seen the movie by now, but if you haven't.
Geez, if you haven't,
it's
coming up on 25 years.
Yeah. It's like on Showtime and Stars like every month. But so we played the hitmen that were hired to take out Andy Garcia's character, which was Jimmy the Saint.
Yeah.
So going back to that cast, I'm sitting there having lunch and dinner with Andy Garcia, Treat Williams, William Forsythe, Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. God, who was the other guy? Jack Warden, is that his name? Remember Heaven Can Wait?
Yeah.
He played the football coach. Great character actor. One of the sweetest guys I've ever met.
What about Christopher Walken?
Walken was the main bad guy. Yeah, of course. I can't forget him.
Crazy.
So the two movies, here they are, 25 years apart, and I'm in the midst of working with this amazing cast, and that's just luck. You couldn't plan for something like that to happen. But that was like the first real movie. But when I was about 19 or 20, I think I played a gang member in a Perry Mason television movie of the week.
Really?
I must have been about 19 years old.
Mark, get the door.
Yeah. So it was one of those things.
Hey, if you knew this, you may remember Dom Testa had a extra part in Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead.
Did?
Yeah, he's like in the soda shop in one of the scenes.
Okay.
With talking to a girl, like just as a customer sitting down at a table.
I did not know that.
That's awesome.
And he's got his mullet and everything.
That movie still holds up. I love watching it. I feel like
I have to go see it again. It's been such a long time.
I think it's kind of it's definitely a cult classic now. It's got that. At the time, it was very much in that same tradition of a Tarantino thing.
Exactly.
Reservoir Dogs and Pulp
Exactly.
Fiction. I mean, and those movies hold up. I mean, they're classics too.
Yeah.
So I love watching. I never get bored of it. And and now
there's so
it's
many
cool,
people come in, dude, and they see that poster hanging up that you brought me, and and they just say, "Oh yeah," I mean, they just start gushing about it. They love
And
it.
when it comes on, I'll catch. I'll be flipping channels, and then I'll get on Twitter. I was like, "Put it on Showtime right now."
Now I'm gonna go try to find it because now I want to see it again.
So, and in between
Totally.
that, I did 2010, we did a production. There was an independent film that was filmed in Brighton. It was a horror film called Killer Ink. I actually had the lead role. That's the first time I ever had a lead role in a movie. And I also did the music. I scored the film as well. But that had a bunch of unknown actors, a couple people from LA that had done a few things, but it was all local cast and crew. But we were able to get Peter Mayhew, who was the original Chewbacca in all the Star Wars movies, was a friend of a friend. We flew him out, and he stayed on set and worked for like 3 days. And as a big Star Wars geek and nerd that I am, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So he actually played my uncle in the film, which was a lot of fun. But on one of the days after production had wrapped, my mom had cooked a huge dinner for the cast and crew. We had everybody at the house. So I actually got to sit down for a few hours with the Chewbacca and just talk Star Wars.
Wow.
And
That's
that was
awesome.
really cool.
That's probably
and so
cool.
may he rest in peace. He passed away
Absolutely,
a couple weeks ago.
weeks ago, yeah.
That was kind of a cool thing. So,
Yeah.
it was definitely
way
like
cool
stunt casting.
thing. Come
So,
on.
as a Star
That's
Wars
beyond
fan,
cool.
as a Star Wars fan,
Yeah.
it was a bigger deal than it would be
Oh.
for most. But so we did that movie. And that movie's out on DVD, which you can get it on Amazon or Best Buy or Target, whatever. It was. I say this. With a term of endearment, it was a cheesy horror film, like a lot of fun, like an old school grindhouse, cheesy popcorn movie. Like it wasn't about winning an Oscar. It was
Right.
just
No, that's
it was
cool.
a throwback
I
to
gotta
those
find
80s
it.
slasher movies and stuff like that. So, but it was a lot of fun. I was able to get my dad in the movie. He played a detective. Greg Stone played a cop in the movie as well. If you know Greg, Uncle Nasty,
Yeah.
a big radio guy here in
Sure.
Denver forever.
We're really good friends. I didn't know he was in that movie.
So him and my dad played the lead
What?
detectives. So my dad was an actor in
What?
a comic. Yeah.
I've known Uncle Nasty for years, and I've
Ask
never
him about
knew that.
Killer Ink. He played a cop.
He just texted
Yeah.
me yesterday. We're supposed to get together for breakfast next week.
Next time you
At
text
the
him,
Breakfast King.
just say, hey, where can I pick up a copy of Killer Ink? Ask him that. That'd be great.
Oh my God, I am going to.
And then my son, who at the time was a senior at Brighton High School, he played me as my character as a teenager because it flashes back 25 years earlier.
Oh wow!
So there was some flashback scenes,
Yeah.
and Jennifer Wilde played his mom.
What?
Yeah, she
I
was
didn't
in
know Jennifer Wilde was in a
she was in
movie.
yeah,
What?
she was in
That's
the
right.
movie as well.
That's right. Now I remember.
So she played my mom in the flashback scenes. My son played me as a teenager, and she played the mom. So there's a lot of cool stuff. It cuts
That's
back to the 80s to that.
nuts. So what is it, Killer Ink?
Killer Ink.
Okay, I'm texting
Yeah.
him right
Killer
now.
Ink.
And I'll give
Man.
you a quick synopsis of the movie. It was basically
No spoilers though.
No
I haven't
spoilers.
seen that one.
it's just about a tattoo artist who's a serial killer. It's kind of like like Dexter.
Oh yeah.
If you took Dexter and put him in a tattoo shop
Yeah.
with some,
Oh, that's cool.
so it had that kind of
Is there
vibe.
some, as a fellow Brighton guy, is there some scenes that I would recognize?
Yes,
with
for
Brighton?
sure.
Oh, right
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
then,
for sure.
Then I'm in.
Yeah, we shot most of it. Took place on a farmhouse just off of like Highway 7 and 168th, like bridge by Veterans Park. Sits on the corner there.
That's great.
We rented out this. It was so fun, and we shot some of it in downtown Denver. Used a couple tattoo shops.
Yeah.
Fallen Owl Tattoo let us use their shop. And
Well, they should have put the chicken coop in, those old. Are they even out there still? Out on
don't know,
Riverdale?
but
Those used to
this
scare the
barn
hell
was
out of me.
creepy. The house was creepy. It was nerve-wracking. There was some weird energy in the house that we shot at. I felt very uncomfortable at night.
Wow.
It was weird. You'd get kind of like the hair on your neck would stand up.
Yeah.
See,
I didn't
that's,
like, and it was weird. And I was like, "There's something going on in this place." But anyway, it was an old abandoned farmhouse there in Brighton, so it was a lot of fun. And obviously, that movie went like straight to DVD. We did do a screening at the Brighton Movie Theater for the cast and crew and family.
Yeah.
But it was one of those ones that just went straight
Man,
to DVD.
We need a double feature here one of these nights.
Right?
Killer Ink and Things to Do in Denver
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you're dead.
That'd be kind of cool. Yeah.
So, but like as I mentioned before, doing music and writing for film and TV is a big passion of mine. And like I said, as just an artist, I guess.
That's awesome, man.
I like
Yeah,
to
'cause you-
express myself in many different ways.
Right, because your album CD you put out about a year and a
Rocknrolla.
half, Rocknrolla.
Yeah, it's approaching 2 years officially
Okay.
as a release, but we're going to relaunch it here in August because we're doing
Okay.
vinyl release, which
nice.
is really cool. So
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
retro thing.
Oh,
so
yeah, yeah.
I just told Paul, it took a while.
I've been waiting for this for a
we've
long
been
time.
talking about it for like a year. It's like
Yeah.
every month I'd see Paul, okay, I think I'm going to, okay, in a couple weeks. Finally, we got the project going, and the album is being replicated as we speak.
Oh, nice.
So I'm super excited, but it usually takes about 10 to 12 weeks from the time it goes into production to it's in your hands.
Yeah.
So we're going to do something really cool here.
Yeah.
We're going to have a vinyl album release party.
Yeah, that's cool.
And
what's that cover gonna look like? The album cover.
so it's just like the CD, which is it's got an old Chevy or kind of a lowrider car on it, very vintage looking, like a throwback. It's a cool design.
Yeah.
But the name of the record is Rocknrolla.
Okay.
And some interesting things with this, and Paul and I have talked about this, but I didn't get a chance to tell you about it. So the record was definitely influenced by the music that I grew up on, and that being everything from like Neil Young and Bad Company and Leonard Skinner to Aerosmith, Kiss, Van Halen, Guns N' Roses, artists like that, and even newer artists like Chris Stapleton and Butch Walker. I kind of took elements of all of that music and sort of just wrote something there's the album cover right there.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah. Nice.
so this record was definitely like a labor of love for me, and it took a while to come together. I was in some bands before that had toured. We had put out a few different records over the last 2 decades, and I went through kind of a thing where I definitely had writer's blocks. From 2005 to like 2017, there was not much as far as writing original music. I was still active as a musician, working and playing, but nothing that I was passionate about. I just couldn't get things going. I finally kind of something just came over me, and songs just started coming out. And this record came out, and Paul and I had talked about this before. It's one of those things where the way the industry is today, there's no way that a record company would have necessarily been all about what's going on with this record, because a record company, usually when you're an established artist at least, or a signed artist on a national label, they have an idea of how they want you to look, how they want you to sound, what the kind of music you're going to write. And if you're not writing it, they'll get someone to write it for you.
It's a whole package.
It's just become like a product, and it's
Right.
And it ends up becoming, to me, not real, and it's become stale. And you go back to them artists like the Eagles and those guys that wrote their own music, Aerosmith, Kiss, guys that actually sat down in a room, got together and wrote the music and wrote the lyrics, and that influences what drove me to make this kind of record. So this record has everything from a acoustic singer-songwriter to even a little bit of country, southern rock, and then hard rock. So it's like everything that I love, and I made the record with the hopes that we would put it on vinyl, not knowing that we would. But in my mind, even the sequence and the order of the songs are sort of like a story, and it
Right.
takes a listener like on a journey. And I envision myself like you're sitting in your room with your headphones.
Sure.
And it's not a thing where you're skipping over. I don't want to hear that one.
No,
You
it's
wanna-
old school.
Yeah.
Tracking the whole album.
The whole album,
Yeah.
it makes sense, and it has a story. And there's some moments of there's like songs of hope and love and desperation. There's even songs that are dark and things that are challenging that I went through personally. But I'm super proud of the record. Like, it's just something that, that's why, even though here we are 2 years later, technically I should be working on my second record, but I still feel like this hasn't been heard yet, and so I really want to get it out there to the masses. And I've had a little bit of luck getting some airplay in a few different markets. And the craziest thing was getting one of the songs crossed over to country radio. So a station in northern Colorado picked it up on iHeartRadio, Big 979, which is commercial country radio. One of the DJs heard it and loved it and put it into rotation, which is unheard of without a label.
Right.
So we have one song, country radio. A couple of the tracks went to active rock, and a couple of them have been spun on classic rock. And that's
awesome.
That's a big deal in this day and age, especially
Absolutely.
an artist that's my age, with no label, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just because, for the most part, for better, for worse, no matter what you grew up on or what kind of music you like, radio stations, at least corporate, they're going to play the same thing over and over because people, unfortunately, don't, even when a new artist has new music, they're just going to keep playing the old stuff. Like when Van Halen put out a record a few years ago, it was a great album.
Yeah, we've
But
been
people
there,
still
done that.
We've been there,
right? They want to just keep playing the same stuff that came out 40 years ago when they're still writing things that are viable today.
Why are you playing this song, Chaw?
Huh?
Why are you playing this song?
Come
Right?
on. Yeah,
It's hard to
it
get
was.
new music and new
Absolutely,
artists. So
absolutely, and it has to be frustrating for a group because as artists, you are creative and you want to do new stuff and you want to try new styles and you want to. But it was difficult. It still is with labels because they pigeonhole you in. This is what sells. This is what we want you to sound like. And how many times did we played the same stuff over and over and over. And even like on a gold station, like a Jammin', for example. I mean, there's 3 decades to pick from. 4 decades, and that's what listeners would tell us all the time.
But they wanted to hear Casey and the Sunshine Band.
It was like, oh my goodness, it was crazy.
I was listening to a station out of LA, KLOS, which is a great classic
Love
rock
KLOS,
station,
yeah.
and based out of Southern California, and they do New Music Friday, and so they'll come in and give you a snippet of all the artists that are putting music out. Perfect example is Whitesnake has a brand new record. Here's a band that's been around for like 40 plus years. And it is as good as anything they put out in the 80s, but no one will pick it up.
Yeah.
No active rock's going to pick it up.
Nope.
Classic rock won't play it because they've already got their playlist. They'll
Sure.
play Here I Go Again, which came out 33 years ago.
That's it.
But they won't play anything off this new record, and it's so frustrating to know that because they made a solid rock album. And that's the frustrating part about that part of being a musician. And,
And even stations like KBCO back in the day, KBCO was like one of those stations that would take album tracks, that would take, that would play
a
stuff.
deep cut, something
Deep
that
cuts,
yeah.
absolutely. And that was their whole brand, is that they didn't play the same stuff all the time,
Right.
like top 40 radio stations or any other commercial radio station. But they started doing the same thing. You listen to BCO now, and it's like, you don't hear anything out of the box.
Right.
Where back in the day, that was the place where they played so many genres.
They would break artists.
And they would break artists all the time.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen anymore. You tune into BCO, and it sounds like they're playing the same song from a group 20 years ago that, it's the same stuff.
It's definitely
I
frustrating.
could see how it could be frustrating for you.
But, I think what you guys are doing with a podcast or internet radio, that's another outlet for independent artists. And a lot of my stuff has been on internet radio, which is cool because the format is almost free form. They'll play whatever they want. So it's cool. There's this KNAC, which was a huge station in the 80s in LA, went away, but now they've resurfaced as an internet radio station. But I'm in regular rotation with them. So literally to have your music played, so you've got Metallica, Korn, AC/DC, Van Halen, and Kiss, and then my song, and
then Romero.
And
Yeah,
that
that's
is cool.
awesome, dude.
So
That's very cool.
I'm definitely keeping track of the stations that have given the record some love. So that's kind of cool.
That's
Yeah.
awesome,
So, that's always grateful for those opportunities.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
dude. We love
it's just such a brutal business.
Yep.
When you look at that side.
Reminds me of a quick story. When I was at Alice, I was a music director at Alice. We were at Alice, and Fleetwood Mac had come out with Silver Springs. Okay, here's Fleetwood Mac, one of the biggest groups on the planet, right? You know how long it took us to get that record on? Because it was like they hadn't had a hit in a long time, so to speak, right? And so that is what the programmers, that's what they gauge things on. Fleetwood Mac, nobody wants to hear Fleetwood Mac anymore, We were the first station in the country to play that record. We broke that record at Alice. Silver Springs.
That's awesome.
We were the first ones to break that record, and then they started playing it across the country. But it was like pulling teeth,
Right.
But we were like, it was a great record. It was a great song.
Yeah.
So they haven't had a hit in 20 years. It's still Stevie Nicks.
Right.
Come on.
That's
It's crazy. That's just the way that it goes.
I wonder what artists like that, of that generation. But I guess everything for them now is touring. I mean, you think about
It
it.
is
They
touring.
still draw. They all are doing well, whether it's the Stones or Fleetwood
Yeah.
Mac or Aerosmith. They're still viable, and people still love it.
Because they're still like you. They're true musicians. It's not they're not downloading the beats,
Right.
and making a record. They're true, actual musicians, and I think that will we were just talking about Gladys Knight. He heard Gladys Knight record the other day that he hadn't heard in a long time. I mean, and he goes, I listened to it 3 times. Really? Okay, so that to me is
Yeah,
it just defines,
we were talking about technology, like what you can do in your house, having your own studio per se. But it's lose that art form is slowly slipping away with the younger generation because they don't even have to learn how to play an instrument. You don't even have to know how to sing at all in any way. No. You don't have to know how to play anything, and you can crank out a record and it will chart, which is mind-boggling to me. And I've seen kids that don't know how to play an instrument and they're selling out big venues locally, theaters, and you're just like,
right.
Yep,
and
it's all on a track.
And they're just sitting there pressing a button.
Yeah,
you just have to know how to Instagram, and have to Snapchat.
So
and you got to market it.
Yeah,
regardless of how old I am, I'm glad I grew up in the era that I did, where with that music it still holds up.
Yeah,
it's timeless. It really is. It's not like we're old reminiscing, like, oh, I miss a good old day. That music is still. It still holds up today, and that's why those bands are still doing what they do, in my opinion.
And Paul and I talk about this too, because it's kind of the same thing in our industry. We talk about how radio has changed. Like when we were doing it, because I told him a little while ago, hey, do you have a cart? Because he's got this little thing that you can see, that he's just pushing buttons, and it's a whole radio station in one little thing. Where we used to have like 3 different things around us, push this button, this button. It's amazing, but at the same time, it has lost its art form.
Oh, yeah.
Like the art form, like the personality part of it, the personality of radio.
Sad because everything's voice tracked. You can't even call in and talk to your favorite DJ. You can't call and request a song because they're not even there.
Yeah.
Right.
That to me is like that's the worst.
They're not even in the same city.
That
right? They're not in the same
You've
city.
You've got DJs. I was driving through Kansas on a road trip headed to Rhode Island, and I heard a DJ from Denver doing the afternoons at a rock station in Kansas City, Missouri. I was just like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So, knowing that that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Like that, like you said, I remember as a kid calling, Steve Cooper at 105.9 when KBPI was still on at 105.9. KZY was 106.7.
Yeah.
I remember like being able to call, requesting a song, and they would play it. This goes out to whatever so in Brighton. You're like this. They said our name, or they played the song.
Exactly.
You wanted. There was a little bit.
They were a part of your life.
Yeah, it was. There was a different.
Part of your day, part of your routine, part of your life, My nephew, I was just meeting, before I came here, I met my nephew who's in from San Diego for a business trip. But anyways, he was bummed because his favorite 2 sports guys in California and San Diego got blown out. And he's like, one day I turned it on and it was Mexican music, Auntie. And I'm like, and he goes, and don't get me wrong, I like my cumbias like everybody else. He goes, but where's my sports talk guys? And he said, they were part of my day every day. I'd get up and I'd drive, and he was so upset. These guys are gone.
Yeah, it's
and
just
I said,
not
because
the
they're
same.
a part of your day every day. And like music, it's a part of our lives every day.
Right. Yeah.
So when, a group like an old group like the Eagles or the Fleetwood Mac or whomever, I mean, it brings back the memories. It's part of our,
Definitely.
growing up and, stuff like that. And the reason I was asking about the album cover is because, I'm dating myself here, but I remember, getting the album covers and looking at it and
reading all the
going through
credits.
all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
credits and
That's
who
why I put
played on it and
Exactly.
what drummer was playing on it, who produced
Exactly.
it, and what freebie you got.
We did that. We did that with the CD.
A poster, yay!
I know that most people download their music. I mean, that's a majority of everything is that is, iTunes and Spotify, whatever. People are downloading music and they're not going into the stores and buying it. Although, like, as we mentioned earlier, vinyl's having a resurgence.
It is.
Vinyl sales are up, which is cool.
Yeah.
But I remember prior to me finishing my record, I ran into a guy, and although this doesn't really hold any weight with me per se, because the guy plays in a cover band, so he's not even writing his own music, but he told me, why are you making CDs? No one's going to buy it. And I'm just like, this is coming from a guy who's in a cover band who's not even doing his own music. And it was just frustrating to hear that that's the mentality of some people, like they're not going to buy it. Mm-hmm. But I knew it would. I mean, I've gone through 3 pressings since my record's been out. It sells. Every time we do a show with a national, I run out of merch, and I'm not bragging about it. I'm grateful that people still want to buy a T-shirt. They want to buy a poster. They want the CD. And when you open it, there's all of that. There's pictures and a little, whether it's the thank yous or the credits. But yeah, where did I record this? Who played on what? Who did this? Who did that? And so I made that CD to be like an album. So when you open it, there was something. And just to go old school, if you actually pull the disc out of my CD, it looks like an album, vinyl.
Oh, see, that's
cool. So
cool.
even the artwork. So everything was a throwback to what I liked as a kid, and it was like sitting in my room with a Van Halen record or a Kiss record, and over, I must have read it a million times. It never got old. Just looking at the pictures and going, oh my God.
It doesn't get old, dude.
Yeah,
I got all the stacks of wax downstairs, and
it doesn't.
It doesn't get old. You pull that out, and it blows young people away. They go, wow, what's it? I had somebody open up a double album and say, now what? Because I was telling them. So
that's awesome.
Anyway,
look at Garth Brooks just released his box vinyl set. Okay,
that's cool.
And he did it like 2 months ago, and on the first day of release, he sold almost 1 million copies worldwide.
That's amazing.
Records.
That's awesome.
Records.
Because,
so there's people flocking to pawn shops to buy turntables.
Right.
All right, we got to wrap this up because
Okay.
you got people licking their chops right now.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me and
continued
catching
success.
up with,
and we'll definitely be here for the unveiling of the album party.
I can't wait.
Album release party. We're going to set a date tonight, but sometime in September.
And the
we'll
movie.
have you out here.
I'll be looking out
And
for you for
Vault.
the movie. The
It's
Vault.
from Lionsgate Pictures in theaters June 14th.
You got
Awesome.
it.
Yeah.
Christopher Romero,
Awesome.
thank you.
Thanks,
for
dude.
being on Denver
Appreciate
Wine
it.
Radio.
Right on.
Right on, Chaw.
That's awesome.
That's a great season 1. All right,
Exactly.
what are we? Season 2, episode 1?
Season 2, episode 1.
That's what we're calling it?
We're back to it. We're back to the grind. Season 2, episode 1.
All right.
Hey, Judy.
Okay, now we're really wrapping it up. Hey, thanks for listening to Denver Wine Radio. And
Thank you, Paul.
next time we'll talk wine. We'll probably taste some wine.
Okay.
But still, hey, put some altitude in your glass.
That's it.